Well, I'm going to move next to Sarasota Manatee real estate stats. We talked about Tampa before the break, so we're going to talk about Sarasota Manatee and kind of give you an idea of what we're seeing in the marketplace. In July of 18, we saw 1,422 sales. Last July, there were 1,276. So again, year-over-year increase. June, last month, 1,584. This month, 1,422. So year-over-year increase, month-over-month decrease, relatively normal that we see that from June to July. Average sale price, though, this was a little bit surprising. $354,340 average sale price in July for Sarasota Manatee. Now here's the curveball. Last July, $364,000. So we saw about a 3% drop in the average sale price in Sarasota Manatee year over year. From June to July, average sale price went from $373 to $354, which is about a 5% drop in the average sale price. Now, this could be a monthly anomaly, but last year, from June to July, the average sale price actually went up, not down. So this year we're seeing a different trend. So year over year we're seeing some depreciation, but still an increase in sales. So in April of this year, the average sale price jumped up above $400,000, and it had been that way a couple of times before, but not really regularly. It had been in the mid-3s for mid-350 range for most of the last few years, kind of hovering around that number. But we're at the beginning of what we tend to see as a slowdown in Sarasota Manatee in terms of the number of sales. One other thing to look at, the average time on market, 78 days in Sarasota Manatee. 50% greater average time on market in Sarasota Manatee than in Tampa. 4.2 months of inventory here, same thing, 50% greater in terms of the amount of inventory in Sarasota Manatee. So Sarasota Manatee is a seller's market, but not nearly the seller's market that we're seeing in Tampa. There were months earlier in the year where Sarasota Manatee was at 7 months of inventory. So they're definitely a different market than ours, and a different seasonal fluctuation. So if you look at the worst months of the year last year in Sarasota Manatee, it's September, October, November, December, January, February, and then it picks up. It starts to pick up February, March, but the end of the year is not as great of a time with the number of sales. But interestingly, it's a better time with average prices. The average prices, even though there's fewer sales in that month, are a little bit higher. So some of that could be because of they're a second home market in a lot of ways. A lot of higher end sales happen during the holidays. People have more time off, that sort of thing. But nonetheless, a much different market than Tampa statistically, and we're seeing more inventory and a reduced average sale price. The lowest average sale price in July that we've seen since September of 17. So could be a sign of a shift there. Could be a sign of a trend. They don't have as many of the strong economic indicators that Tampa has. But nonetheless, different. Anything else, Robert, you wanted to add on the Sarasota stats?
You see a lot more fluctuation in their average sale prices. A lot of their averages, as you've mentioned, change a lot from month over month.
Yep.
It's just because they have a lot fewer sales. They are actually a lot of condo sales down there. There's a lot of waterfront property down there. The market's just different in that way, which is why you see a lot of those swings. If you have a couple of very expensive homes that sell in a certain month,
yep,
all of a sudden the swings for all the stats are different. So
yeah, that's very accurate. And you see, I mentioned in Tampa, 1% of the sales are above $1 million.
Yep.
Sarasota Manatee is 5%.
Yeah.
So five times the market share
Yeah.
in the $1 million plus market. Which again, a couple of those sell big $10 or $12 million home sales, and then guess what?
Exactly.
It throws the numbers
So
way up.
what we've seen on a yearly level is that our average price down there is up by about $30,000. I think that's probably a little more accurate. It's slightly higher than Tampa, not a ton higher, but we do pretty much normal real estate down there. I mean, we're not down there selling $12 million properties. So
right.
I think that that the marketing time is definitely longer. Inventory is definitely higher down there, but But I think that they've been in more of a balanced market all year as opposed to Tampa.
Yeah, they're definitely more of a balanced market. It's trended towards more of a seller's market in the last few months, but if you look at inventory numbers over the past several years, it's hovered around 5, 6, 7, even as high as 8 and 9 months of inventory. We haven't seen those figures in Tampa for a long time.
Yep.
So it definitely doesn't have the same kind of sizzle that Tampa has. It doesn't have the population growth, the economic growth, but still a pretty pretty healthy real estate market. Much different sales cycle,